Hello and welcome to a regular edition of StarCast for a very special astrological moment. I'm Eric Francis Coppolino here with the edition for June 20th, 2024 to accompany the June 20th horoscope, which covers the solstice, which happens a couple of hours from right now, where I am perched at 11:46 a.m. New York time. Then followed tomorrow by the first of two full moons in Capricorn. That's on the 21st at 9:07 p.m. Eastern Time. So this is a big moment when we combine a major solar event, which is to say that the sun has reached its northernmost trek along the horizon. This is due to the axial tilt of the Earth. The sun will appear to stand still for several days along the horizon, and then it will begin to make its southbound journey. This is good news for people down in places like Australia and New Zealand, where I hear the weather, well, in some of those places, has been a little bit cold, chilly, and smarmy on the standards of the southern hemisphere. Unless you're way on top of a mountain, it's never really that cold up there, but down there. But anyway, here we are. And I have written an article today. Well, first a housekeeping note. That note being that instead of the monthly horoscope today, I've delayed that till next week, the July monthly. But for today, I wanted to write a 12-sign horoscope that addressed the confluence of the full moon and the solstice. If I ran the monthly horoscope today, that's going to have material going out into July. But we've got this very interesting moment right now. And so the weekly horoscope is the horoscope that gets the kind of right now treatment. And the monthly horoscope is the one that looks ahead with a little bit more foresight and taking other factors into account. So today we are going to be sticking with the sun entering the sign Cancer. That's the second of the cardinal signs. Season always begins when the sun enters a cardinal sign, whichever season that might be, and then that is followed by the opposition of the moon to the sun, and this is taking place just a little bit of past 1 degree Cancer Capricorn. So when you put those two things together, there can be this unusual surge of energy in the world. We might all be feeling this in some way, and there are, as I mentioned in the article, there are going to be people who this is very stressful for. This is not necessarily pleasant astrology, but then again, if you're riding the wave, if you've got your feet loosely planted on the tsunami of life, you'll probably have a pretty good time, and who knows, maybe be staying up a little bit later than you usually do at night, because that's one of those things about the full moon. Plus, the new season brings with it a surge of new energy. Think of the spring season beginning, that was 3 months ago, and imagine all of the biota pushing up out of the ground, manifesting as plants and foliage and all kinds of new stuff coming out. That's a lot of energy. It's subtle. It happens day by day. We might not necessarily notice it. You might see a daffodil poke its head up out of the ground. But, multiply that daffodil by hopefully a whole lot of trees in your neighborhood, and then many other plants and weeds and things like that, all just kind of reaching up toward the sunlight to express themselves for their time on Earth. Okay, so we have a new season beginning in a few hours, and that is one of these kind of peak moments. The longest days here in the Northern Hemisphere, the shortest days in the Southern Hemisphere. Even though the weather is different, I find the feeling of these two solstices to be very similar. The sense of like, okay, this has gone far enough in one direction, whether that direction is going toward a little losing, 4 or 5 minutes of sunlight every day, and then finally you realize it's almost always nighttime. Where has the sun gone? And then as the daylight is gained, which began way back in December up here in the Northern Hemisphere, day by day by day, okay, finally, where has the nighttime gone? Bring on the night. I cannot stand another hour of daylight. So Anyway, here we are up in the northern hemisphere right at that moment. So this is an Aries point event because the moon and the sun so close to the beginning of the cardinal signs makes a 90-degree aspect or a square to this thing called the Aries point, which is this point. It's the first degree of the zodiac. It is the position of the sun on the vernal equinox. It is the thing that the tropical horoscope is reckoned by against the sidereal horoscope. So this is all about the age of Aquarius. In other words, we know that the astrological age is moving along because that sidereal vernal point moves further and further back along the sidereal. It's complicated, but anyway, when things aspect the Aries point, it can be really exciting and interesting, and there is that sensation of the world crashing into your living room, but now we all live with the world crashing into our pocket all day long. And so one of the things I ponder in tonight's article is, well, how do you know when something is important? When a mugger is caught in New York City, it comes across as a news flash. Well, that's exciting. I'm about 90 miles north of New York City. How is this a news flash for me that y'all cops down there caught a mugger in on 125th Street? Well, it's not that exciting, but this is designed to essentially do nothing but annoy, alarm, and harass people. The media has gone far past being fake news. The media has gone far past being inaccurate. The media has gone far past being sensationalized. It has now become nothing more than a harassment device. And while you're in your harassed state, a lot of ads are jammed in. We are really going for the world record of advertising exposure. I bet we're well past being exposed to 5,000 advertisements a day. It is freaking crazy. And we can see this in a number of factors that are just kind of creeping through the chart. A point called Poseidon at 15 Scorpio, a very Neptune-like point, which can be associated with propaganda. This is a very slow-moving point. It has a lot of influence, and combine that with Neptune. As of now, it's at, I can't believe I'm even looking at this, but it's at 29 degrees and 54 minutes of Pisces. Neptune has basically made it all the way across Pisces. It's about to station retrograde. We'll get about another 9 or 10 months of Neptune in Pisces on and off. But that combination of factors, Poseidon, a trans-Neptunian point, by the way, not an asteroid, not a centaur, none of those things. It's this other weird kind of thing, a planet without a body, right in the middle of Scorpio, making a, how many degree angle? 150 degrees, practically on the pin to Neptune. This is a deluge of propaganda. It is just there to keep people separated from themselves, divided, mired in controversy, supporting various wars, devastated by various wars. And as far as I can see, this thing known as the media or the legacy media, essentially anything with commercials, and many, many, many things without commercials. I am so sad to say that there's now, like, the alternative media has now become this kind of mainstream propaganda product. Well, the result is people feeling highly destabilized, separated from themselves, further alienated, their trust in life further eroded. More and more reports of more and more random violence. I subscribe to the New York Daily News feed I used to write for the paper. I know that it serves some meek, vague purpose 2 or 3 times a year, so I watch the things come by. It's always covering more random violence. This is eroding people's faith in existence. It is keeping people on edge at all times. We're already on edge from being overexposed to the digital environment. So there are other factors involved with this. But I think this big one, and by the way, I want to thank Martha Lang Westcott, the amazing asteroid author, Martha Lang, MarthaWestcott.com or something. She'll Google right up. For any time I correspond with her, I get a little mini one-paragraph astrology lesson. She's in her 80s. She's utterly brilliant. And it was worth emailing her with a simple question and then getting her usual extra paragraph of, oh, and by the way, this is what is going on. So we have to deal with this. This is a spiritual crisis. We have a problem here, and I'm afraid that we're not noticing the problem and that we are not giving it the right name and that we think that we're supposed to be hooked into all of this complete chaos. But I can no longer see the purpose that it does. I mean, to me, it seems like watching or reading the news should come with a warning. Do not try this at home. Do not try this without special training, which used to go on videos about juggling chainsaws. But unless you actually know how to read the news, which is a skill, you need your kind of Leatherman multi-tool to be able to analyze it, and and hopefully some good researchers and fact checkers around you and all that stuff. Reading the news is no longer a civilian activity. It's no longer the news. There's no longer anything new. This is a whole problem with news, is that everything we're seeing is repeated over and over again or just lasts perpetually. So be aware that when we're in this kind of Aries point moment where the energy can really rise up, and it could come on quite quickly between the solstice alignment and then just tomorrow night, the full moon, the moon entering Capricorn. It's in Sagittarius right now. And then entering Capricorn has this sense of very rapid acceleration. Beware that anything that you are told is absolutely true might not be true. And if you care enough, you just have to figure out whether it's true. John Yasher last night sent me video of some young people allegedly spraying spray paint on Stonehenge. Okay, that's terrible. He was understandably upset about that. I replied with my standard one paragraph about Stonehenge. Write me a letter about Stonehenge. I'll send you back my standard one paragraph letter. And I said, and by the way, was that really paint? How do we know that that was really paint? It would be super easy to send out a photo of people spraying hairspray, whatever that stuff, what was that stuff called that you'd spray in your hair? It would look like your hair was colored, but it would just wash out the next day. Well, how do we know it's not that? So this is true of everything, but the problem with all of this, basically virtual and enhanced and computer generated and chat GPT and all this stuff, is that the more we doubt whether something in the external world is true, the more we doubt whether we are true or real. And so you might think, well, wow, this is creating all kinds of chaos in the world, and I don't know what to believe anymore and all this stuff. Maybe the earth is flat. Maybe the Beatles didn't exist. Oh, maybe the Beatles existed, but they didn't write a single song. The Tavistock Institute and all that wrote the songs. Oh, and they wrote the Rolling Stones songs too. And the Doors were really a product of the military-industrial complex because Admiral Morrison was Jim Morrison's father, etc., etc., etc. Well, all of this, everything is fake, has as the message of the medium, you are fake. That's a spiritual problem. That is a spiritual crisis. So, bear that in mind. We are on notice, and I think it's very important that you stick to what you know is real about yourself. I had a revelation last night, and be as in the present as possible. I know it's not easy. So the way my apartment life is set up, I've got an office downstairs in the Planet Waves office. I spend more time there sometimes and less time there other times. One half of my little living room is basically a music studio. The other half contains this desk and broadcast setup. The microphone swings so it can get all the way to the amp. Usually I record on a little portable recorder. And I notice, first of all, the vast distance between my desk and the couch, which has lovely guitar tuned to a open D tuning made by my friend Jim. And it looks like it's about 12 feet away, but actually it can take me like 3 hours to get there. That's interesting. I consider this a form of brain damage or perhaps indoctrination that the digital realm just keeps sucking me back in. I'm not really addicted to my phone. It's just this very nice 27-inch iMac. The other thing I was noticing last night, sitting on the couch with a guitar in my hands, admittedly under the influence of a little bit of White Widow vape, the entire internet is the past. No matter how recently something happened, if it's happening on the internet, it happened in the past. Now, there may be certain live events, but even they are, fraction of a second in the past. Most of the internet is stuff that already happened a while ago. We're dredging it up, we're looking at it, and it's like one enormous nostalgia trip, which is supposed to be comforting when you are in a state of mental chaos or stressed, and many people are. But with the guitar in my hands, it occurred to me, I had this revelation, this physical, emotional, mental, in-body revelation, that with that guitar in my hands, making brand new vibrations never heard before, I am right in the present. I don't know how much of a revelation that sounds like right now, but it meant something at the time, and it means something to me right now because I am aware of this problem of the internet being this vacuum into what has already happened and what we're supposed to be constantly disturbed, distracted, and shocked out of our bodies about. All right, this is supposed to be an astrology podcast. Let me give you a couple of more points of astrology associated with the full moon chart, pretending I'm beginning all over again. The sun entering Cancer in a little while, mere moments from now. In fact, how few moments from now? I'm going to have to go digging through the charts for all the July horoscopes, which I'm almost done writing. Almost on out to the first week of August. The only way to do that. I can't find the chart for this. Is it? No. Okay, whatever. The sun enters Cancer in like 2 hours. It makes a conjunction to a centaur, like Chiron, in that group, one of the first ones, called Asbolus. So what is Asbolus? Asbolus has got a lot to do with survival skills. It is also about the luck of survival, and it is also about the will to live. It is the thing that all life has in common. The word Asbolus means carbon dust in Greek. And it is the carbon dust. If you think, what is the one thing that all life has in common? Well, you could say water. Okay, that's interesting. But you could also say carbon dust. Now, this does not include discarnated entities and various archangels. They're probably not made of carbon entities, your friends Seth and Satya of Alcyon. But we, crawling around on the planet's face, are definitely made of carbon. And so this is the thing I love about Asbolus. It is the thing that all life has in common. Okay, so that will be in force and effect throughout the course of the full moon. Now the other thing, the sun joins Asbolus and Venus and Mercury in Cancer. So high tide for the water signs. Now, the other thing the sun and the moon are going to do at this full moon is they're going to make an exact 90-degree angle to a deep space point called M87. M87 is a massive galaxy. It is in the second degree of Libra. This is exactly where the full moon is going to come through at the second degree of Cancer and Capricorn, enhanced by Asbolus in the first degree of Cancer. And M87 and Asbolus have one thing in common, which is they can have a very edgy quality. M87 adds a bit of emotional desperation. It can feel like a kind of a vacuum. Now, when an emotional vacuum, it is Phil Sedgwick described it as a kind of an emotional black hole. Now so when the sun and the moon square that, pay attention. Pay attention to how you feel. Pay attention to how others around you are responding. Do people seem a little bit more upset than they normally are? Are they feeling a little bit extra needy? How are you responding to them? What have you lived through for a long time and had enough of? Question mark, question mark, question mark. The other way that M87 works is it goes in reverse. It becomes an emitter. And so for those who are like, whose body frequency is tuned to a kind of, let's say, cosmic codependency, it will respond one way. But if you are a person tapped into your spiritual abundance, if you have found that inner ray of God that you know that you are allowing to shine through you, that is the other side of M87. You can look it up. I forget, it's got a lot of other names for galaxies, but Messier 87, the 87th item catalog by old Mr. Messier way back when. And you can see that it has this massive jet blowing out some stardust material out of this galaxy. God knows what's actually going on there. Personally, I would love to visit. All right, three more things. And since you're listening and hopefully finding this meekly entertaining, the moon will pass through over the next. And when's this going to be? When does the moon? Let's get a handle on that, because at the time of the solstice, the moon will be at 15 degrees of Sagittarius. That highlights another deep space point. Hold on, let me just do a little bit of on-the-fly astrological calculation here. Position, moon, 1st degree Cancer. The solstice is at it's only 5 hours from now, 4:50 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Okay, so when the sun enters Cancer, the moon is right on this other deep space point called the Great Attractor. Now, we live amongst a lot of galaxies. There's a lot of things to read in astrology charts. Is an endless number of things. Personally, I limit my use of deep space points, things not in our solar system, and not in our galaxy. I do use some fixed stars occasionally, but deep space points, very, very far away points, I limit it to 3. The galactic center, which is the center of our galaxy in late Sag, M87 in very early Libra, and the Great Attractor in mid Sagittarius. So the Great Attractor is it is the ultimate Sagittarian statement of, I can run faster than you can, don't crowd my space, come along and follow me. So everything is basically chasing this thing called the Great Attractor. It has many interesting properties, but whatever those properties are, at the moment the sun goes into the sign Cancer, the moon is sitting right on the Great Attractor. It's worth noticing these things. They add detail and emphasis. And this chart, for all of its Aries point stuff, and its full moonishness, and its alignment with all of these deep space points, has a kind of a largesse to it. Now, we keep entering these large moments, and most people just reach for the next ice cream cone and don't notice that we are in a large moment. Who cares? Well, some people care. And what do you do with a large moment? Well, you make bigger, better decisions. You commit yourself by taking action to something that you want to do in your life with your limited time on Earth. A fact that most of us forget until we are harshly reminded. What else do? You connect your existence, your choices, your thoughts, and your ideas to a deeper underlying spiritual reality. This is a different life. You have suddenly a different purpose, a different feeling, a different sense of your inner reality. In fact, we could scrap almost every concept of what spiritual is in the digital age and say, as soon as you're pointed into your own awareness, you have some form of spiritual consciousness. By your own awareness, I mean you direct your awareness inwardly and have a sense that you actually exist as an interior being that has nothing to do with the world around you, that is essentially a different thing. It is connected with something else. And that something else, getting to that something else is what people call the spiritual path. So it's like, here's the simple version of every spiritual path ever invented. First one, turn around and face inward. Second, follow that toward the deeper version of who you are. It could take 500 lifetimes. It could take 5 seconds. One other thing, no, let's skip that one other thing. Forget it. That was good. That was more than enough for one podcast for this afternoon. I am planning a Planet Waves FM, most likely for Friday night. The program's been off for almost a month. I have completely cleaned my apartment and gotten caught up on a lot of things, and horoscopes are pretty much well done out to the August 1st weekly. That's a miracle. I'm getting ready to record the Trust Yourself readings. Those are coming up sometime in early July. I'll probably get those started recording those next week. This is one of those 12-sign reading packages that is in some ways all you need for a while. It's not all you need, but for a little while, it is I'll be providing a kind of full spectrum inquiry into the moment we're living in, the qualities of the celestial sphere, the qualities of the earthly sphere, and the interior weather based on astrological charts. And my intent with doing this is to help you line up with yourself, feel better, be more motivated to live your life in a bold way, and to fulfill the central premise of the reading, which is learning how to trust yourself. I think self-trust is very important. I think that when we say trust, we're really talking about love. That people throw the word love around, but if you verify whether the use of the word love aligns with the experience of trust, when that happens, that's love. Without trust, it's not love. And there's another simple answer to a question that's been pondered since the agricultural revolution. I've got it all here. I'll be filling you in on many of the things I've learned the past month on tomorrow's Planet Waves FM. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a customer and or a subscriber. In case you're listening to this podcast somewhere else on one of the numerous channels we distribute on, or on YouTube, or as a preview on Substack, check us out at planetwaves.net. You can get to my Substack at planetwaves.eu. That'll redirect you right to the Planet Waves Substack. Check out my readings, all now compiled by Elijah Tuttle. Worked real hard on this at astrology.boutique. Once again, thank you for listening. Lots of love. Signing off from Kingston, New York at 12:14 p.m. on 6/20/24. Lots of love, and bye for now.